And, oh yes, the little griddle who could. We're fresh from the freezer, said the little...
Critically positive reviews retains the charm of the show, milks Keanu Reeves for a number of solid laughs. A number of solid laughs? A number of solid... This is the worst thing to happen to this show. The worst thing. Released in 2020 and somehow to positive reviews, the third theatrical SpongeBob movie is not only a definitive collection of everything that the show isn't, but also a blatant attempt to promote the spin-off show Camp Corral, which in its own sense is disgusting. Stephen Hillenburg, the creator of SpongeBob, never wanted anything to do with spin-off shows for obvious reasons, but upon his tragic death in 2018, well, I think you can figure out the rest. We'll get back to that a bit later, but if you're not a fan of CGI animation that this film exclusively uses, then fear not, as that's the least of what this gets wrong. Everybody's out of character, stealing plots from the old movies, lots of cameos. It's mind-boggling how something like this can happen after the last two movies were both pretty solid. I wasn't a huge fan of the last one, but it was okay, and it did take some risks. I kind of disliked it when it came out due to being falsely advertised, but this goes beyond that. Honestly, I think the only reason it's CGI is because it's the only way to justify the fact that literally nothing here feels anything like the fucking show. Instead, it's a shameless cash grab that somehow gets good reviews because apparently CGI and whatever the fuck this is.
Yes, sir. What? Together.
Equals quality. There's definitely a lot of shit to get through, so let's analyze the third theatrical SpongeBob movie, Sponge on the Run, a title relevant to one scene. The movie opens, as expected, with some narration.
A place of unparalleled beauty and fecundity. These islands play host to a vibrant ecosystem below.
Not voiced by Tom Kenny, the guy who usually does the French narration. He also voices the main fucking character, so I don't know what the reason is for this.
Sea stars.
Oh look, a reference to the first movie. I hope we don't get too many of these. I gotta give the film some credit, as the first scene perfectly showcases the era of SpongeBob the movie wants to represent.
Good morning, SpongeBob!
Good morning, Patrick!
Good morning!
Patrick!
Good morning, SpongeBob!
That being the disgusting scenes and the annoying ones. Even though the show has gotten better in recent years, this movie chooses to capitalize on the dark era that took place around season 4 through 9. You're not gonna get plots that glorify suicide and murder, but the aspects that appeared most often and plagued that part of the show are gonna be quite relevant here.
Good morning, Squidward!
Like Squidward torture porn, one of the show's finest themes. SpongeBob, voiced by Tom Kenny, then eats snail food because, and we have an opening music number that alone gets so many things wrong. Like clams being dogs now, instead of worms, and yoga in the Krusty Krab. What?
Oh, don't worry, Care Bear. I'll be back before you can say, why did he cruelly abandon me like that? Ah!
Yeah, that's something he would say. Squidward, voiced by Roger Bumpus, gets tortured again for doing nothing wrong, 'cause that's good writing. And yes, at the very least, all the main characters have the same voice actors. That includes Clancy Brown as Mr. Krabs, which I guess should be appreciated. Plankton, voiced by Mr. Lawrence, has a new plan to steal the formula, and we see that Karen, voiced by Jill Talley, has maintained her mid-series status of being a bitch.
Oh, nothing. It's just we're running out of room on the wall of failure.
Wall of fit.
Again, I'll give the movie some credit for some nice references in the background, but it doesn't explain why he has crabs on his calendar, in his underpants. Kinda weird. Sandy, voiced by Carolyn Lawrence, gives Mr. Krabs a robot named Otto, voiced by Nora Lum, that's designed to make heartless decisions and essentially replace the boss. Why she'd make this, I don't know. Why she'd just give it to Mr. Krabs, I also don't know. He immediately gets rid of it after it tries to fire him, and Karen decides to take it home because it's cute, I guess. As for that new plan to steal the formula, it's sneak in at night and analyze a patty that he shouldn't even know about because it's not usually there.
That's fucking stupid!
This obviously works, but then SpongeBob comes back in to find his keys.
No keys. That's weird.
He ends up in the fryer. I guess the formula does too, it's not exactly clear, and instead of just analyzing it again, he comes to the conclusion that SpongeBob must be the problem. We cut to Poseidon, voiced by Matt Berry, which is odd as the first movie had Neptune, and the Chancellor, voiced by Reggie Watts.
You know, some say I have a face like a Greek god.
Well, you are a Greek god, so...
Whoa! Wait, is that a wrinkle?
What?
It is! It's a wrinkle!
So it turns out he uses snails to look young forever, and then essentially makes them into slaves when they're empty. As a result, the snail population is almost completely gone, so he puts out a boon for anybody who can find one. Plankton sees this, and figures if he gets rid of Gary, he'll get rid of SpongeBob too. As for the aforementioned boon, it never gets mentioned again.
Shocking.
He must do this off-screen because we don't see it, but we do get some animated shit that I assume you don't want to see. They then rehash the Have You Seen This Snail episode, gotta love those two random fish, and Patrick, voiced by Bill Fagerbach, finds the decree Plankton left along with consuming the contents of the litter box, which we know isn't empty.
The lost city of Atlantic City is a scary, vice-ridden cesspool of moral depravity.
Sounds to me like a new motto. He doesn't want to go at first, which is completely out of character, but Plankton, who has an animated ass in this one scene, has Otto take them there. Meaning the main plot of this movie is about SpongeBob and Patrick heading to a dangerous city, primarily because of Neptune's and/or Poseidon's appearance, and a plan that Plankton orchestrated to steal the formula. Wait a minute, that's the first movie's footage. How the hell did I get that mixed up?
This is gonna be like one of those buddy movies.
No fucking shit. They argue about this for some reason, which affects nothing aside from keeping that out-of-character theme going, and eventually end up in the desert. You know what that means? It's celebrity cameo time! Featuring Keanu Reeves as Sage, who's kind of like a mentor deal, Danny Trejo as El Diablo, and Snoop Dogg as the Gambler.
You better leave now where you lost, dog. The zombie king, yeah, I hear him coming. OG Ghoul with a thirst for the running.
I have nothing to say about this. It's the thing they put in the movie. A SpongeBob movie.
Like it ain't no thing!
They fight with El Diablo, and I'll admit, there is one funny scene here.
Get away from those curtains!
What, these curtains?
Oh, these are nice curtains.
Well, they are. So soft.
That's weird.
These curtains are making a strange sound.
They escape, and it turns out they were dreaming.
More of a vision, really.
Whatever. And due to SpongeBob's absence, Mr. Krabs gives Plankton the formula because he's depressed. What?
Like it ain't no thing!
This is not something he would do. It's so out of character, it's not even fucking funny, and why the fuck is it tiny? It never has been before. I know he has to walk out with it, but we've seen him lift paper.
This whole thing just doesn't make sense anymore.
Again, a great new motto. Plankton's not happy about this, which also seems out of character, and as you can guess, it's gonna be just like the last movie when he decides to help because... reasons. I mean, why have new ideas? It's just a show that's lasted 3 decades. Who the fuck needs them? What we do need is for people who like the video to remember to like the video. And subscribe if they're enjoying. They finally reach Atlantic City. It didn't take that long, aside from the dream sequence.
More of a vision, really.
Shut up! And immediately get distracted by the gambling. That's an odd line to emphasize for a kids' movie.
But dealing with you two makes me want to light myself on fire.
Sage!
And that's really dark. I hope the kids realize that for him, that'd be especially bad, but it's still not a good idea. They cut a scene out in the past over this. Luckily, they woke up right outside the palace, and for every 50 shitty scenes, there's one that's kinda funny.
Hey dude, we're the Bluefin Group? Of course, right? The Bluefin Group! No!
And we're back to murder, because that's also funny, I guess.
Like it ain't no thing!
They get captured, and I'm sorry, but the scene when the rest of the gang sees this on TV is just... I don't even know what to make of this. Why does Sandy accuse them of doing something bad? Why is Squidward even there? Why is the fish equivalent of Kenny G playing at an execution? Why is Plankton good now, and why do they trust him? And why the fuck did they bring back the paddy wagon when we just saw she has a fucking rocket boat? Well, then again, it did take the time of one pointless scene to get there, and did I mention this movie has no pacing?
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Oscar room, y'all.
You got cameos, we get it. He lets his friends speak in his defense, meaning it's time for what is probably the most offensive thing in this movie for a number of reasons. One, it's advertising Camp Corral, which is awful, but it's not the only thing wrong about this. I could go on forever about how terrible this is and that you should definitely not watch this show, even if it is good, which I don't think it is. But then there's the fact that they don't seem to know anything about the show the movie's based on. Which isn't a new thing at this point, but this is outright contradiction.
I'm Sandy Cheeks from Texas. Hi, Sandy. I'm SpongeBob. Pleased to meet you.
So the gimmick here is that Camp Corral, the spin-off show, is supposedly where they all met, which in and of itself is stupid, but we've already seen how SpongeBob and Sandy met in the first fucking episode, and spoiler, it's not this. Granted, maybe it's better if none of this is canon, but I don't think that's the idea. They also replaced their voice actors with kids, which is odd because the show didn't do that, but in the end, this is a blatant example of everything wrong with the entertainment industry, which in this case was distastefully implemented after the creator's untimely death, who, as we all know, didn't want this.
Like it ain't no thing!
So, to express my opinions on this without copyright, I divert you to the Guns N' Roses song, Get in the Ring. Just take out the names in there and replace them with everybody who worked on this movie, and it'll fit in quite nicely. On the bright side, at least they didn't give Patrick a show. Are you fucking kidding me? They put on a dance number to trick them, which I guess isn't the worst song out there.
So what's the one ingredient that turns this awesome sauce to liquid gold? I'll tell ya! The secret to the formula is you.
He eventually sees through this, and we have the only scene in the movie that really depicts the title. Because they're running. And it wouldn't be a climax without Squidward being tortured.
Do you think we should have stayed in there with Squidward?
Nah, he's got it.
Where is everybody?
What a bunch of assholes. I mean, yeah, it's based on the show, but for them all to agree on it?
Like it ain't no thing!
They get caught, but Poseidon tells him that since the show was so good, he'll let them go free, so long as he gives him back the snail. He tells him he can't do that, and points out that Poseidon has no friends.
Surely you, my Chancellor, my loyal, faithful...
Sorry.
So he quits being an asshole, stops caring about looks, and lets all the snails go free.
Nailed it, SpongeBob. Sage out.
That's it? Nailed it, Sage out? You do realize you've gone way beyond a cameo, right? They take the snails back home, and the movie ends with Bikini Bottom becoming a snail refuge. Which doesn't make any sense. I thought he was the reason for the snail shortage, but whatever. And, of course, one final fuck you to Stephen Hillenburg and all the fans. You know, on second thought, even the end credits fucked up. I mean, why the hell is Snoop Dogg mentioned right in the middle of the main cast? Really, it's most the main cast, then Snoop Dogg, and then Patrick. I mean, what the fuck? They couldn't even get this right? Nothing about this order makes any sense. But that was the SpongeBob movie, Sponge on the Run. And I think one clip that I've, ironically enough, not used yet, sums it up perfectly.
This is fucking sick.
I don't know if this was designed specifically with Camp Corral in mind, but given the lack of quality, it definitely seems that way. I wasn't expecting anything good, but I at least thought it would feel somewhat like the show, and the characters would act the way they usually do. Somehow they managed to do none of that, and that's what surprises me the most. Yeah, it's not good by any means, but the fact that it's a rehashed version of the last two movies with characters that act nothing like the show is a new level of simply not caring that even I didn't see coming. Half the motivations make no sense, the show blatantly contradicts itself, and given the fact that it uses CGI, it's even more apparent that maybe that's the idea. I don't think anybody wanted this to be fully CGI, so making it a Camp Corral tie-in does make a lot more sense. Obviously that's just speculation, and in the end it doesn't matter, as the show shouldn't exist. If I had to give this any credit, it'd be that it does have some funny moments, as it would, but at the same time it manages to capture a lot of the show's worst elements, like Squidward torture, which is especially odd because, like I said, the show has gotten a lot better. Not as good as it used to be, but if you watch this movie, you'd think nothing's changed. The cameos are obnoxious too, as they're just too noticeable, and having 3 of them in one scene is taking it way too far. Plus the zombie dance, that was just not needed. If you were to take Camp Corral out of the equation, it would not fix this movie. You'd have to take the entire show out and just look at it as its own thing. Which for the most part it is, but still that's too much to ask. Despite the inaccurate atrocity that this is, it's still SpongeBob, and there's no getting past that. It does very little right, it's overall tasteless, and like Bikini Bottom itself, standards have really gone down. I'm the analyst, and remember kids, fire is no laughing matter. I mean, you're not made of hay, but still, don't play with it. So, you've made it to the end. That's an impressive feat indeed. Since you managed that, I guess check out the gaming channel, in which I cover a variety of gaming topics, like analysis videos, such as this one. If you're into that, then press the link in the description. It's that simple.